Good afternoon. We will call to order the regular council meeting of Monday, March 2nd, 2026. We'll call the meeting to order at 1:02 p.m. We'll begin with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Cabamonigan is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory in the traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to First Nations for their care for and teachings about these lands. May we honor these teachings. I'll look to council for approval of the agenda, moved by Councilor Burns, seconded by Councilor Edgerton. All in favor? That is approved. Any disclosure period interest? Seeing none. There is no closed session, so we'll begin with the minutes of the regular meeting held February 17th. We're looking for a motion to approve those as presented, moved by Councilor Natchez, second by Councilor Byrne. All in favor? Those are approved. And we also have minutes from our committees and boards, the Cabamonigan Public Library Board meeting minutes from the December 16th meeting, receiving those for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Huntley, seconded by Councilor Byrne. All in favor? Those are received. We'll begin with the reports. Mr. Hancock is with us. Wayne, over to you for the proposed amendment to the traffic and parking bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Due to council, the report before you is a proposed traffic amendment report. It's related to heavy truck traffic, vehicle restriction on Brown Line. Recommendations in this report are as follows. Number one, that council approve the removal of the heavy vehicle restriction on Brown Line between Elmdale Road and Airport Road. And number two, that council approve bylaw number 2026-07 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2024-56 being a bylaw to regulate traffic and parking within the limits of the township of Cabamonigan. And just as an add-on to this, there is the information within the report. We do have an interested party on the north side of Brown Line that has asked for us to review the lifting of this restriction to accommodate some truck traffic, limited truck traffic between Airport Road over to their site. Our standard traffic report is brought in on an annual basis in September, and we will be bringing back a further report at that time to deal with more housekeeping matters and anything that's raised by the residents. But this was a specific request dealing with a property proposal on Brown Line.
Thanks for that summary, Wayne. Just to start with an initial question, just with regards to the removal of what's being proposed in the report, is there a need or a consideration with regards to the surface of the roads in question that might require special adjustments or enhancements to accommodate the weight of this traffic that we're talking about allowing?
To Mr. Mayor and through the council, first of all, Airport Road is of course a county road, and it's built of asphalt, so it is of reasonable standard. Airport or Brown Line itself, the truck traffic that we were made aware of is only 2 transport trucks per week, so we didn't consider that heavy traffic, and the condition of Brown Line in that area is reasonable, so I don't think it'll have a detrimental effect on the road surface.
But something that we can obviously keep an eye on, when and if this is to move forward, because there's, as we see in a future report later on in today's agenda, there's, growing commercial industrial interest in this sort of area. So I think as long as we're on top of it and going to, add it to our list of annual inspections, and because I don't think this would be captured in the pre-existing road master plan, right? So we want to make sure. Okay, but you're on it. Okay, very good. Questions, members of council. Councilor Byrne.
Through the chair to Mr. Hancock. This makes perfect sense to me. There's some industrial land. Well, I don't know what they're going to call it, but there's land just to the north of this Brown Line that we've been talking about for years as far as development, even cross-border servicing to do some of it. What I'm going to ask you now is, why wouldn't we also look at eliminating the restriction when you turn north off of Brown onto Emsdale to get up to the old bypass or service road? It just makes sense to me if we're going to try to create an environment for future expansion of possible retail, commercial, industrial, whatever. It just makes sense to me to do that. And as far as I'm aware, to the mayor's point, all the roads have a minimum standard they're supposed to be up to regardless. So I'm just thinking this little bit between Brown and the bottom of Cisco really doesn't make sense if we're trying to go in that direction.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Byrne. First of all, it's a reasonable comment. I think the way we were looking at it is we have some industrial development proposed along Elmsdale Road. We're waiting for the details of that development. The initial request for the heavy truck traffic being, the restriction being placed on Brown Line was driven by some residents in the area that were concerned about the traffic to Cisco. So we agree that we should review this and we would look at it further, subject to what the truck traffic is today and the truck traffic that might be proposed with the development in the area. And we would bring in a further review of the Brown Line heavy truck traffic and the Elmdale restriction presently after we've done that review. At this point, we were just doing a bylaw to deal with a section where we did have the interested party on the north side of Brown Line. So this was part, and we would consider, I think this is a fair comment. We would look at it further once we have further details on the Elmdale development.
Yeah, makes sense. Follow-up, Councillor Byrne.
Through the chair, just to that point, if you start letting truck traffic turn off Airport Road and go west, you've boxed them in. They're gonna have to turn around and go back. There's gonna be traffic that's gonna see that as a way of getting somewhere. And if you have that further restriction not lifted, you've kind of created another problem.
Again, Mr. Mayor, I think specifically the request came from a user that was looking at 2 to 3 trucks per week coming to a location on the north side of Brown Line. So this was specific to that request. I agree that if truck traffic starts using Brown Line, then they have to have an outlet. And that is, I think, part of the future consideration that I think we have to review.
Okay, other questions? Seeing none, so there are two with regards to the recommendation for the report, just let me scroll up, sorry. So the two recommendations are that council approve the removal of the heavy vehicle restrictions on Brown Line between Elmdale and Airport Road, and that council approve bylaw number 2026-07 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2024-56 being a bylaw to regulate traffic and parking within the limits of the township of Katamonigan. Questions about the motion or just moving the motion? Moved by Councilor Byrne, seconded by Deputy Mayor Huntley. All in favor? That is approved. Thank you, Mr. Hancock, for answering those questions. Next, Bridget, communications activity.
Thank you, Mayor. The report before council is ECD 2026-01. And the recommendation is simply that council receive the report, communications activity for information. Just the intent behind the report is to give council just a sense of what is being done in terms of communications and outreach to the community, and how we are measuring those efforts. So the report is before you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, thanks for the report, Bridget, and thanks for collecting this. I think it's a kind of an extension of what we talked about in the strat plan of not just, having objectives, but like measuring them as well. So I thought it was a good summation with regards to the activities for this year. Questions, members of council? Councilor Byrne.
Through the chair to Bridges, not a question, it's more of a concern. I've always been advocating for more signage, better communication with the people, and the disconnect between people being online and not online. What I would mention is these black signs, I think they're a great idea. I wouldn't mind spending a little bit of money and getting more, maybe if we can find spots. But if we don't update them reasonably quickly, what happens is if the same signage stays there for weeks or days afterwards, that's out of date, people don't look at it anymore. And then when you put something new up there, it's kind of not an issue, right? And I just think that's an opportunity missed, that if we could keep that more current. It's great that we got the new visual out in front of the fire hall. Way better than this one at the bottom of the driveway ever was. But yeah, that would be my one concern, that we get the stuff when it becomes outdated, it gets off. And if something else goes on, the other thing I was going to ask, the one in front of the new hockey rink, is there a reason why it couldn't go closer to the road to be more in line of sight, or is that a bylaw restriction?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Byrne, I I would turn to Chris. I don't see, I think if you're trying to put it in the road allowance, that would be a county, issue. So I think it's just easier if it's on our property. But having said that, we can probably put it closer to as close to the road as we can get.
Chris, do you want to, any comment on that?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Byrne, the current location of it, it is sort of the most level area before we start getting to the ditch and the road allowance. So it, if we could find a spot that's a little closer, we have no problem moving it.
Councillor Natchez?
Thank you through you, Chair. This is a question potentially more for than maybe Bridget. Is that better? Okay, sorry. Would it be possible if we can get some kind of signage up at where the old hockey rink was, whether it's like a post in the ground with the contact number for the township office as well as for the fenced property behind the post office that just says, wondering what's happening with this property, and a number to contact someone here at the township office. I'm just getting a lot of people coming in asking what's happening, and I will defer them to just tell them, hey, contact the township. But if we could have some signage up of some kind with a number that just, you know, directs people to where they can get more information, then that would be appreciated. Thanks.
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Natchoff, we are working on that right as we speak. So yeah, no.
And MPP Scott was just here, and I know we've had conversations about trying to get, the dam's been well built for quite some time now, and that announcement sign has been kind of, I think that announcement is old news, and we can hopefully make use of that. Councillor Byrne?
Through the chair, I'd just like to make mention too, was in the report, we're talking about maybe more in-house, in-person type of dialogue back and forth between the population. And I'd be amiss if I didn't mention how Al Steele's always talking about town halls that you've been talking about, but haven't actually come to fruition. I don't know if there's an idea from your end on what that scheduling might look like or what the possibilities might be for that.
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Byrne. So we did do a town hall meeting last year in October. We also try wherever we can to put up a table and attend any community events. It's not all of them because we do have a staffing component that we have to consider, but as you know, because I've seen you at some of those events, we have had a table. We do have another event scheduled where it's kind of a combination Earth Day and meet the staff. So, you know, we are moving forward with that initiative.
Yeah, the last sort of your town, your team, I think is what the moniker was that we went with the last one. And it was great to have the ability to go around for those that did attend to meet different individuals. And I know staff's working on another sort of potentially a biannual sort of scheduling for those sorts of meetings, which I think will be great to move forward and fulfill some of that objective as well. So that's great, Rich. Other questions, Councillor Natchoff?
Thank you through you, Chair. Maybe more of a recommendation. So in my time when I was at Fourth Line, we got out iPads and we did a like kind of MailChimp on-site like kind of poll for visitors coming to the theater to get more demographics and information. Maybe this might be something that we might want to take advantage of by having a like Canada Summer Jobs student or someone that may come on to help with programming through the Parks and Rec department in the summertime if you have one. Just going around to the hockey, to the community center and just engaging some of the people to maybe find out more about like why they've moved to the community, where they've moved from, or if it's people that have been in the community for, you know, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, what changes they may want to see so that we're kind of like engaging them more directly, like as Councillor Byrne was saying and Al Steele, that it kind of gives those people that maybe might not always be social media connecting on that way. And if it's a matter, you know, I would be happy myself to, you know, make myself available to go out for a couple hours on a Saturday. And it's like a, you know, 5-question thing that we did with Fourth Line. It took all of 2 minutes to engage someone, and it just was really effective to get good kind of like clear demographics, but also just hearing people of what they, what do you want to see at the theater? What should we change? So it was just really positive to help us kind of make quicker decisions. And then I think we can kind of get a little bit more of what the public, the pulse of the public, opposed to that. But, it's really, I think you're doing a great job. So thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Councilor Nacho. Good suggestion. I saw Bridget nodding along and taking notice of that. The other thing that Chris and I have talked about is kind of optimizing in the areas where we do have municipal facilities, whether it's things like the libraries and within the community center itself and other areas, is maybe looking at optimizing the utilization of community messaging on some of those screens, and maybe adding 1 or 2 to the library where people are physically going, and then they can, sort of see these messages as they come available. And so I think it's definitely something that is being looked at and worked on, and we can continue to utilize for the township. I know we do, but Chris and I have talked about whether they're in the right location, or if there's room for an additional, maybe it's something he looks into and comes back with recommendations to council. So with that, we are just receiving the activity report for information. Moved by Councilor Natchoff, seconded by Councilor Edgerton. All in favor? That is approved. Next item is again, Miss Bridget is coming again with the community improvement grant recipients.
Thank you, Mayor. Report ECD 2026-02 is before council. The 2026 Community Improvement Grant Program recipients, with the recommendation that council accept the recommended Community Improvement Plan grant recipients for 40 King Street, which is Millbrook Fit, and 89 County Road 10, which is Millbrook Organic Orchards, totaling $11,453.61, identified in the 2026 capital budget.
Thanks, Bridget. Thanks for the report. So just for clarity, I guess, so these are the first 2 that we have sort of out of the gate, but they're still open streams. Obviously, there's still capital aside, so we're ongoing and processing other applications as they come in, because I know there's been a couple that I think I've sent your way with regards to the community improvement applications. So, okay, so we'll see as they come forward and are theoretically successful, then they'll come forward to council with those information as well.
Sorry. Yes, that is correct. You will recall, I think it was 2023, 2024, we moved to a rolling intake. So we still have funds available. There is one application that we are reviewing right now, and we do anticipate 2 more.
Councilor Byrne, question.
No, more of a correction, through the chair. So this farm is actually on County Road 21 out towards the Mars Church. Not the south end of the township at all. So I think what they're doing out there is quite nice. I hope them luck. I know it's a struggle. I know they're into some unusual circumstances that hopefully this will help. But yeah, just for those people watching, because they're trying to grow this business, it's actually physically connected to County Road 21, right out on the west end of the township there, just before you get to the Mars Church on the south side.
Yep, this is the address that they applied under, so it's up to the applicant to put the right information in, and we'll just forward accordingly. But it's exciting. It's nice to see the agricultural application coming forward. So hopefully it helps that business. Any other questions? If not, we're looking for a mover and a seconder for the recommendation in the report. Moved by Councilor Byrne, second by Councilor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. Next item is Parks and Facilities, Cavan Historical Society room use at the Old Millbrook School. Mr. Allison.
Thank you, Mayor. I have before you Parks and Facilities Report 2026-02, Millbrook and Cavan Historical Society room use at the Old Millbrook School. The recommendation is that council support the request from the Millbrook and Cavan Historical Society for dedicated space at the Old Millbrook School. Under the direction of the mayor, staff met with the Historical Society regarding space at the Old Millbrook School. This report is recommending that council support the request from the Millbrook Cavan Historical Society for the dedicated space at the Old Millbrook School. The newly renovated room upstairs is currently vacant and presents an opportunity to better support the society's growing research and community programming needs. They require secure, functional space, properly store materials, meet with donors and researchers, and host educational and heritage displays. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Yep, this has been long discussed at the library board as well about trying to work together and kind of optimize the use of the space. I wouldn't classify it as necessarily empty. It sort of depends on the day and depends on how things are being moved around, but it's a great to utilize the space in what is a very historical piece of downtown as well for the purposes of housing. So it's nice to see that this has been able to move forward. Any questions with regards to the report? If not, we'll take the mover and a seconder for the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Natchoff, seconded by Deputy Mayor Huntley. All in favor? That is approved. Thank you, Chris. Next, corporate services, pregnancy leave and parental leave for members of council. Update, Mark.
Through the mayor to council. Before you is report corporate services 2026-04 policy for pregnancy leave and parental leave for members of council. The recommendation is the council approve the updated policy for pregnancy leave and parental leave for members of council. As council might be aware, municipalities are required to adopt and maintain a policy governing a pregnancy and parental leave of members of council as per the Municipal Act. This requirement came into effect in 2019 and council approved a policy that same year for pregnancy leave and parental leave for members of council. As part of a longer process of improving the township's policy government, staff are aspiring to review and if necessary, update policies when feasible. And this is one of those that was flagged for review. The policy itself has been updated to more closely match the legislation and the legal requirements and just create a few parameters around the leave itself. It has also been provided to allow the clerk to do administrative updates to reflect new regulations or changes in them as long as it maintains the intent of the policy. I would be happy to answer any questions the council has.
Thanks, Mark. So if I understand the main vein of the report, it's really just an update with regards to making our policy concurrent with legislation, even though it sounds like legislation came out in 2019, but this was a little bit of a gap that we want to just fill with regards to the legal requirements of parental leave. Okay. Questions? Councilor Byrne?
Through the chair to Mark, just so I understand. So if there was a member of council elected anytime in the future, would it matter if they were a male or a female? Would they qualify for this leave? And then I'm looking at this wondering, like for the duties that I've performed or whatever you want to call it for the last few years, they would be eligible to go to conventions and whatever, but they wouldn't be required to come to council meetings. Is that the way I read it?
To Councillor Byrne through the mayor, a couple of things to clarify. So the term is parental leave, and that reflects what's in the Municipal Act, and we don't have any ability to deviate from that. Parental leave could mean somebody's partner or spouse has a child, but also could mean the person having the child. And there's a couple other parameters, for instance, if you adopt a child. And this is exactly what the Municipal Act reflects, so we cannot deviate from it, and that is literally the language the Act is using. In terms of councillor responsibilities, that is correct that a councillor can attend conferences and other engage with constituents and do a number of duties that councillors can as they determine fits within the parameters of this leave. Councillors can also choose to attend council within the leave, and this again reflects the legislation. The main point of this policy is to kind of create some parameters around parental leave for councillors to reflect the regulations, because if councillors are absent for more than 3 months from council, you need a motion to not have the seat be vacated by default. So this is just kind of fleshing out. So there's a clear process set in place if a councillor does need to go on parental leave. I hope that helps.
Yeah, so in the absence of a policy around paternal leave, you revert back to the Municipal Act, which has criteria. If you miss 3 consecutive meetings, your seat can be vacated. And so in the absence of having a policy that allows the parental leave to circumvent that or be a justifiable, the Municipal Act is, but it isn't enshrined in our local policy. So you have to have that policy or else you kind of default to the other one in the absence of it. Does that help, Councilor Byrne? Follow up?
Through the chair. So just for my own personal, what is the age of a child? Because we got into this a few weeks ago with the youth has changed. So what would be the definition of 0 to what would qualify as adopting a child?
To Councillor Byrne through the mayor, the Municipal Act does not define a child in any age. Usually within the Canadian judicial system, 18 or under 18 is considered the age of a child. It does not elaborate at all near the act, so I don't want to comment.
Yeah, we are, like I said, bound by the municipal act, so what it says, it reflects in our own policy. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the recommendation in the report for the creation of the approval of the new policy? I guess would be the right language. Moved by Deputy Mayor Huntley, seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. And lastly, last report is report CAO disposal of Elmdale Road property PTLT 2-3. Over to you, Ms. Hurley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To council, the recommendation before you is that council receive the information report CAO disposal of Elmdale property PTLT 2-3 concession 10 of North Monaghan. The rule number is 1509-030-001-09800 to JK Realty Limited. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. This is exciting that we're through this process. It's been many years and going back with the proponent to work and work on this exchange, but we're excited that there's going to be a focus on job creation and bring some more employment to the region. And it's nice to be working with a local partner in this regard. So we wish them, all the folks at JKR Realty, the very best. I know it's been an arduous process, but we're happy to get to where we are today. And thanks for staff for all the hard work and working through this purchase and acquisition. Questions about the report? If not, we'll take a mover and a seconder for the recommendation. Moved by Deputy Mayor Huntley, seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. Lastly, on the agenda, we have, excuse me, council and committee verbal reports. I've got a few, but any other members of council? Councillor Natchoff will go to you.
Thank you, through you, Chair. At the last GRCA meeting, we had reappointed our current sitting board and chair and vice chair for another term, or for the last part of this year until elections come up in October. I as well volunteered to continue on as the board's representative for the Regional Users Committee as the delegate to represent the GRCA. And then lastly, the GRCA were just in more discussions on the potential amalgamation of the conservation authorities throughout the province. So nothing really was it was discussed, but nothing was determined at that point, just waiting to hear back from the province. And that's it. Thanks.
Okay, sorry.
And I'm sorry, and due to weather, the Millbrook Valley Trails meeting was not held for the month of the last meeting that we had last week.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Natchoff. I've got a few. So one being the library board at the last meeting. We had a great discussion about the DC financing for the upcoming township development charge background study. We also had some great news about an anonymous donation that was received at the Bruce Johnson branch. So we really appreciate that and respect the confidentiality of the provider, but it was a significant contribution. So we're very grateful, and unfortunately, I can't recognize them in person, but we're very happy for the support and the very nice comments that were accompanied with the donation. And we also talked about trying to optimize some of the digital titles that are very sought after in our portfolio. A lot of the online accessing of different book titles is becoming quite competitive. And so we're trying to figure out how to optimize the capital utilization to make these titles maybe shorten the delay for people to access them or potentially get additional ones. So we're looking forward to a report on that in the future. Secondly, we had the final meeting of the previous iteration of the medical board last week. And so I just want to thank all of the members past and, well, I guess present, but past or more recent past for their many years, in many cases, decades of service in sustaining the medical center in its current state. So I want to thank the current members by name or the previous members by name: Betty Hobson, Jocelyn Aubrey, John Follis, Paul Hain, and Janet Kennedy. And thank you for their stewardship and working, especially with the township over these last 2 years, while we hope and work to continue the medical center providing service to the community from a health standpoint. So those are the extent of my verbal updates. Can I get a mover and a seconder to receive those verbal and committee reports? Moved by Councillor Burns, seconded by Deputy Mayor Huntley. All in favor? That is approved. There is no general business. There is no correspondence for information. There is no correspondence for action. I think that's it. Bylaws, yes. Bylaw number 2026-07 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2024-56 being a bylaw to regulate traffic and parking within the limits of the township of Cabamonigan. And a mover and a seconder for that bylaw. Moved by Counselor Natchez, seconded by Counselor Edgerton. All in favor? That is approved. There is no unfinished business. No notices of motion were provided before the meeting. Counselor? Sorry. The notice of motion need to be received prior to the meeting, so unfortunately, we'll have to wait until the next meeting. You can provide that to us at this time. Yep, as per the procedure bylaw said. So with that, there is no unfinished business. The confirming bylaw number 2026-08, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting held March 2nd, 2026, be read a first, second, third time, and passed this second day of March, signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the corporate seal attached there too. Any mover for the confirming bylaw? Moved by Counselor Edgerton, seconded by Counselor Natchez. All in favor? That is approved. Lastly, motion to adjourn today's meeting, moved by Deputy Mayor Huntley, seconded by Counselor Edgerton. All in favor? That is approved. There's a number of upcoming events and meetings. The next regular council meeting is Monday, March 16th at 1 p.m. The Cabamonigan Public Library Board meets next on Tuesday, March 17th at 7 p.m. The Municipal Revitalization and Heritage Advisory Committee meeting is scheduled for March 19th at 9 a.m. The Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting is Thursday, March 26th at 1 p.m. And the subsequent regular council meeting is Tuesday, April 7th at 1 p.m. Thank you very much, and we will see you in the township. Take care.